Thanks, Doris. That was great.
You want this?
I just want to take just a brief few minutes here just to share some of my personal experiences. I'm grateful that Doris invited me to go along on this trip because mission work has been something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. So going along with the group was just an absolute blessing for me. The first week, as Doris explained, I worked, being from a non-medical background, I was sort of the odd man out there, but I helped in every way that I possibly could. So I was assigned to help with the eye tests, and working with the children was just a wonderful and beautiful experience, but we saw them mostly in the morning, and the afternoons, I must say, were my the most precious times to me, because we were dealing with the adults. We were in particularly, what really touched my heart were some of the older and more elder people of the community. As Doris was saying, many of them couldn't read their Bibles anymore. They're a very, very strong spiritual country. They're predominantly Catholic, but they love God. And not to be able to see their Bible was really difficult for them. In particular, there was one older gentleman, and I will never forget that day. He came to us, and he needed glasses to see from a distance as well as for reading. He was quite elderly, and when we were able to fit him, the Lions Club donated hundreds and hundreds of glasses, and it wasn't an easy task with our very primitive eye testing to find a prescriptive pair of glasses that would work. But in this situation, we did. We were able to fit him with glasses, and he could see from a distance. He could read, and he was just overcome. When we gave him sunglasses to protect his eyes from the cataracts or from the sun, cataracts are very, very predominant there because the sun is so hot and so bright, and many months of the year. He became a little nervous and very uncomfortable, and he kept trying to relate to us that he couldn't accept those sunglasses. And the reason he couldn't accept them was that he didn't have the money to pay for them. When we explained to him that they were a gift, he started crying. And eventually he did accept them and he left. But that is something that I will never forget. That was truly God's work. There was also a woman who had severe cataracts who came to us in the second location. And she said that she lived in darkness, and when we examined her, we found that she had such severe cataracts that there wasn't anything that we could do for her. We had to send her away with a referral to another specialist. She may never get there. The specialists are far away, they have no means of transportation, and she may continue to live in a world of darkness. That was very sad. The young man that was pictured in the slides with the one leg, I was working at the second location in crowd control, so to speak, which wasn't easy. But it gave me an opportunity to see every single person that came in. And that was just a gift for me. There was a lot of fun times, there was a lot of acting silly times. They were a happy, joyous people, even if they had to stand and wait in the hot sun for 2 days. They were happy. They were just happy to come in and to be able to be seen. So the one young man had been seen by one of our physician assistants the day before, Joe, and was told to come back the next day. So when he arrived, I had the pleasure of giving him those crutches. It was over the top. He took my hand. I speak no or very, very little in Spanish, but he took my hand and he placed it on his chest, and he looked me right in the eye, and he kept telling me how thankful he was. He showed me his calluses, and they were incredible, unbelievable. There were many people that were sitting in line or sitting around waiting that day when they witnessed this. You could have heard a pin drop. Everybody was quiet. Everybody was observant. Many tears. And one of the gentlemen who was waiting to be seen by the doctor started helping adjust those crutches so that that young man could walk away with crutches and not in such pain. There was one, and I'm going to close here, but there was one young lady. She was 13 years old, and I saw this young man the day before we were leaving, and he came sort of surveying everything, checking out the whole situation. He wanted to get a number. So he was given a number and asked to return the next day. Well, the next day when he returned, he wasn't alone. He had under his arm and practically attached to his body this young lady, 13 years old. She was different from the perspective that she never looked up. She didn't smile. And that was unusual because the people there are happy despite their conditions. So I sort of watched this all unfold. They went in to see the doctor, and then I watched them as they sat out waiting for their prescriptions. When they left, I went to the doctor and I asked what the situation was. This young girl was 13 years old and she was pregnant. And I wanted to just think how I would feel if I were in those shoes. Here I am, pregnant, 13 years old. I've only completed the 7th grade, and I've only had my transition from childhood to womanhood for 2 years. And now I'm faced with being pregnant. I have no idea how I'm going to support myself, my baby. My parents can't help me. They get $300 a month from the government, and that doesn't go very far in a family of 6. My father, he goes to the marketplace and he buys fruit and vegetables, and he peddles the fruit and vegetables to the locals. Not many of them can afford to purchase because their one meal a day consists of rice and beans, and sometimes, if they're lucky, chicken. So I know I can't count on my parents to help me. And I know that we can't get married because divorce, if things don't work out, is so costly that most of the people in their neighborhoods do not marry, and they just live together, and they work towards raising their children and having as good a life as possible. Maybe she could learn how to sew. Maybe she could learn how to make some crafty things like the purses and the things that are sold to the tourists. But it's pretty bleak. With that said, though, somehow they manage, they move on, but there isn't a lot of hope. On one of the situations where I was taking the weights and entering the heights on some medical papers and passing it on to our nurse, I did see a ray of hope in one young woman who was very curious about what we were doing. She was just in our face. Everything we wrote down, she was asking questions, she was asking the nurse. So we asked her why she was so interested, and she very proudly relayed to us that she was in nursing school and that someday her goal was to be the ward supervisor in the hospital, and hopefully that hospital would be in their village. So for me, I see hope. It was fulfilling to go on this mission trip beyond description, and the people of Duran will always remain in my heart. I ask for your prayers for them. Thank you.